How do you investigate a man who has removed every trace of his own life, including the parts no human could erase? It began on a cold, rain-polished night, the kind where neon lights bleed into puddles and the city feels like it's quietly rotting from the inside. Detective Marcus Hale was working late, half asleep over a pile of unsolved cases, when a single manila envelope was slid under his office door. No knock, no footsteps, just the envelope. Hale stared at it for a moment. In his years as a homicide detective, envelopes like this usually meant one of two things: a lead or a threat. He picked it up. The paper was damp, edges wrinkled, and there was no sender, only 3 words written in a shaky, ink-smeared stroke: find the truth. Inside, he found 4 items: a black and white photograph of a man in his early 40s standing on a bridge at night. His face was angled away from the camera as if he didn't want to be remembered. A birth certificate with the name Elias Ward, stamped void in red ink. A newspaper clipping of a man reported missing 11 years earlier. A single USB drive. Hale frowned. Elias Ward. The name rang no bells, no criminal record, no mention in the department archives. A ghost. He plugged the USB into his laptop. Only one file appeared: Ward_001M4. The video began with heavy static, as if the footage was never meant to be played again. Then the image cleared. A man sat in a dim, underground room. His hair was messy, beard uneven, eyes darting around like he expected someone or something to appear behind him. Hale recognized the man instantly, the same one from the photograph, the same posture, the same haunted look. The man leaned closer to the camera and whispered, "If you're seeing this, it means I failed." The detective leaned in. "My name is or was Elias Ward. I have spent the last 11 years trying to erase myself from the world. Not hide, not disappear. Erase." He inhaled sharply, trembling. "But someone is putting me back." Static broke across the screen. When the image returned, Ward's skin was pale, hands shaking violently. "Every record I destroyed has reappeared. Every file I corrupted has restored itself. Every physical trace I left behind in hospitals, schools, government offices, they're all back. Even photographs I burned are returning." Hale felt a cold shiver move down his spine. This wasn't paranoia. This was precision. Elias continued, voice cracking, "I don't know who's rebuilding me, but they know more about me than I ever have." He looked over his shoulder, terrified. "They're watching, they're rewriting, and they're getting closer." The screen flickered violently, then went black. The video ended. Hale sat there in silence, the rain outside tapping the windows like impatient fingers. A man trying to erase his own existence, files reappearing, photographs restoring. This wasn't a missing person case. This was a case that didn't want to be found. And someone out there didn't just want Elias Ward alive. They wanted him remembered. Badly. Detective Hale replayed the video twice, once as an investigator, once as a man trying to understand fear in another's eyes. Elias Ward didn't look like someone running from criminals' debts or revenge. He looked like a man running from himself. At 2:13 a.m., Hale grabbed his coat and headed into the rain-soaked streets, the envelope tucked under his arm. The address on the newspaper clipping was his only lead: an old boarding house in the industrial district, where Elias had lived before he vanished. The building stood crooked against the skyline, its bricks stained with decades of weather and neglect. A flickering street lamp buzzed overhead, casting a sickly glow on the entrance. Hale pushed the door open. The lobby smelled like damp wood and forgotten lives. A single fluorescent light hummed loudly, its brightness fighting the darkness like a dying soldier. At the front desk sat an old man with thick glasses and a face carved by time. Hale flashed his badge. "Detective Hale, I need information about a former tenant, Elias Ward." The old man froze as if Hale had spoken a curse. "You're the 3rd person this week asking about him," he muttered. Hale stiffened. Who were the others? Didn't give names. The old man swallowed hard. But they weren't cops, and they weren't normal. Hale leaned in. "Explain." They walked like they were being puppeted. No emotion, no blinking. He shivered, and every time one of them touched the counter, he pointed to a spot on the wood. Hale leaned closer. The grain was warped, burned, blackened as if by acid. "They asked me, The old man whispered, "If I ever saw Elias Ward's original self." He shook his head. "What does that even mean?" Hale didn't answer, because he didn't know. He climbed the stairs, each step groaning under his weight. Room 3B. Elias's last reported residence. The door was slightly open. Hale slowly pushed it. The room inside was bare, no furniture, no bed, no personal belongings. Except, on the wall opposite the doorway, scorched into the plaster, were handprints, dark, uneven, burned deep, fresh, as if someone had pressed their hands against the wall with violent, unnatural heat. Hale moved closer. The prints were shakingly human until he noticed something wrong. They were layered. Dozens of overlapping prints, different sizes, different angles, as if many versions of Elias had touched that wall at different times, all merging, all fighting to exist. Hale's stomach twisted. Then he saw the message scratched into the wall beneath the prints. "Stop looking for me." The detective stepped back. The floor behind him creaked. He spun around, hand on his weapon. No one. The hallway was empty, silent except for the steady patter of rain hitting the windows. But Hale felt it. A presence, not watching him, remembering him. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text message. "He shouldn't have found you." Hale's breath caught. Another message appeared instantly. "Turn around." He did. And for a brief, impossible second, he saw a man standing at the end of the hallway. Elias Ward. Same face as the video, same posture, same haunted eyes. But as Hale blinked, Elias's entire body flickered like a corrupted file trying to render itself. And then he vanished. Only the burned smell remained. The city rain had stopped, but the streets still glistened like they were holding their breath. Detective Rourke stood outside apartment for C, the last known address of the man who was trying to erase himself from existence. A thin trail of cigarette smoke curled from his lips as he stared at the peeling door. Something about this place felt wrong, like a stage after the actors had run away mid-scene. Rourke pushed the door open with a soft creak. The apartment was immaculate, unnaturally so. No dust, no fingerprints, no smell of human life. Just silence, heavy, suffocating, intentional. Whoever had lived here had wiped it clean with the precision of a surgeon. Not even a coffee mug in the sink, not a scrap of paper in the bin. It was the kind of emptiness you felt in your bones. But Rourke wasn't buying it. People don't vanish without leaving a shadow behind. He scanned the walls and instantly spotted it. The first mistake. A square patch of paint, slightly lighter than the rest. Something had been removed recently. A frame, a safe. He pulled out his knife and chipped at the area. Hollow. Behind it, a hidden recess. Inside, he found a single black and white photograph. A man standing in front of a phone booth. Eyes unfocused, hands trembling. The face was blurred not by motion, but deliberately scratched out with something sharp. Beneath the picture, someone had written, "I was never here." Rourke felt a chill crawl up his spine. This wasn't just a disappearance. This was a self-erasure, methodical, obsessive, desperate. He kept searching. In the bedroom, the closet held only one thing. A suit. Black, tailored, expensive, but stuffed with newspaper instead of a person's belongings. Each piece of rolled newspaper had a word circled. Rourke unrolled them and pieced the words together like a ransom note. "Remembering me is dangerous." What kind of man warns the world not to remember him? The investigator's instinct screamed that he was dealing with someone far more than a runaway. Someone intelligent. Someone hunted or hunting. Someone who believed that their very existence carried a threat. Then Rourke found the biggest clue. Under the bed, taped to the frame, was a cassette recorder, old, dusty, but blinking with a dying red light. He pressed play. At first, only static. Then a voice. The same kind of voice that spoke quietly to itself at 3 in the morning. The kind that belonged to someone who had stared too long into their own darkness. "If you're hearing this, it means I failed. They found me." Rourke froze. "My name, no, that doesn't matter. What matters is that I am not who you think I am. Every record of me, every photograph, every signature, none of it is real. I built myself from lies, and now those lies are collapsing. Static. Don't look for me." Another pause, a gasp. "Don't look behind you." The tape clicked off. Rourke turned slowly, hand on his gun. The apartment was empty, silent, but for the first time, he felt like he wasn't alone. something someone had been there recently, and they might still be close. Detective Rourke stepped backward until his shoulders touched the cold wall. His heartbeat thudded loud enough to fill the silent apartment. The cassette recorder still lay in his hand, its final words echoing in his mind. Don't look behind you. Warnings like that weren't random. They were promises or threats, but the room stayed still. Rourke exhaled slowly, his nerves steadying. Whoever had recorded that message wanted him paranoid, and it was working. He clicked the recorder open, searching for any clue, a name, a code, a fingerprint. Nothing. Even the inside of the device was wiped clean. Whoever this man was, he had an obsession with disappearing so perfectly that not even dust dared cling to him. But then, Rourke noticed something he had missed. A faint footprint, almost invisible, tracked across the wooden floor. Not dusty, but wet, like someone had walked through rain and across the room minutes before he entered. It led toward the fire escape. Rourke bolted to the window, yanked it open, and stared down the rusted metal steps. They were dripping. He wasn't far behind. The night air slapped him across the face as he stepped out, his coat snapping in the wind. Down below, an empty alleyway stared back at him, dark and bottomless. Rourke listened. Soft dripping, a squeak of metal, and then a whisper. Not words, just a breath. Someone was there. He moved quickly, descending the fire escape, gun drawn. Every shadow felt alive, stretched thin like hands reaching for him. Halfway down, he spotted something tucked behind a broken pipe, a crumpled photograph. He pulled it free. It was the same man from the first photo, but this time his face wasn't scratched out. It was Rourke's, his own face. Same jawline, same eyes, same scar under the brow, but the clothes were different, older, outdated, like a version of him that had lived another life. The back of the photo had a single sentence: "You follow yourself." Rourke's breath caught. This man wasn't just erasing his existence, he was erasing Rourke's. Footsteps echoed behind him. Rourke spun, gun aimed at the rooftops above. A silhouette stood against the dim light, tall, stiff, motionless. Rourke blinked once, and the figure vanished like it had never been there. Was it him? Was it the man? Or was it Rourke himself, another version, another identity erased and rewritten? His radio crackled to life. "Detective Rourke, come in. We have something you need to see." Rourke hesitated, staring up at the rooftop, but the voice on the radio continued. "Something about the man you're investigating. We ran a scan through national databases. Every lead you sent us, every signature, every name." A pause. "They all match your biometric profile." Rourke froze. The rain began again, slowly, like the sky was trying to drown the city's secrets. The voice on the radio continued, almost afraid to speak. "Detective, it's like you've been investigating your own ghost." Rourke looked at the photo in his hand. His own face stared back, and then a new whisper drifted down from the rooftop above. "Stop searching before you remember." Detective Rourke didn't return to the station. He couldn't. Every instinct in his body told him the precinct, the place he trusted, the people he trusted were now part of a truth he was never supposed to uncover. The rain hammered down like the sky wanted to drown him in warnings. Rourke ducked under the awning of an abandoned bookstore, the kind that still smelled of old paper and forgotten names. He pulled out the strange photo again. His fingers trembled, not out of fear, but out of recognition. He'd seen that expression before. Not in mirrors, not in memories, in nightmares. Nightmares he always woke from, sweating, breathless, trying to remember a face he could never hold onto, his own. He slipped the photo into the inside pocket of his coat and pulled out a second item he had taken from the apartment, a metal key with long grooves and no teeth, like it wasn't meant for a door. His thumb brushed over a tiny etched number, 003, file number, room number, or something worse, a designation. He didn't have time to think. The rain slowed, the silence thickened, and the neon sign above the empty street flickered once, twice, then the lights went out. All of them, the entire block. The darkness was too fast, too synchronized, too absolute. A car engine hummed in the distance. Not approaching, idling, waiting, watching. Rourke slipped inside the bookstore. The bell above the door didn't ring. It had been removed. A table covered in dust stood in the center, save for one clean rectangle. Something had rested there recently. A file, and someone had taken it. He moved deeper. A faint blue hue glowed from behind a curtain. Rourke pushed it aside. A projector was running on its own, silent, flickering. It displayed footage of a man walking through a train station in 1961. His posture was familiar, his face blurred by the camera's age, yet the silhouette was unmistakable. Rourke. But he wasn't even alive in 1961. The footage cut. Another scene flickered. Each one showed the same man, same height, same walk, same scar under the brow, but sometimes wearing different clothes, sometimes with different hairstyles, different companions, different cities, the same man over multiple decades, never aging. The projector clicked off on its own, and then Rourke heard it, a soft whirring. The recorder in his pocket had turned on again, but he had never touched it. Static hissed, then a voice emerged. Not the first voice, not the warning voice. This time, the voice was his own. Older, rougher, more tired. Stop following the file, Rourke, before the file finishes you. Rourke's blood iced. 003 wasn't meant to be opened again. The voice continued. I tried to bury it. I tried to bury us. The rain outside stopped completely. An unnatural, heavy stillness filled the room. Turn around. The recorder whispered, and meet the life you tried to erase. Rourke did. And standing behind him, silent, steady, was the man with his face. The two men stood face to face in the bookstore's dead silence. Same jawline, same eyes, same scar, same steady breath. Detective Rourke felt his pulse slam against his ribs. The air grew thick, like the room was trying to hold them both in place. Two versions of something that was never meant to be duplicated. The other man stepped forward, not aggressive, not hesitant, just inevitable. You shouldn't have opened file 003, the double said, his voice a perfect, aged mirror of Rourke's. You weren't built to handle it. Built, not born. The words slithered into Rourke's mind like poison. Were you? Rourke whispered. The double didn't blink. The original. The sentence detonated in Rourke's skull. He stepped back, the wooden floorboard groaning behind him. You're lying. The original. Rourke shook his head. No. You're the one who's been living the lie. You're Echo Variant 7A. A reconstruction. A replication. A replacement that went too far. Rourke's breath hitched. Echo 7. He had read that name somewhere. No, heard it. In his dreams, in fragments of memories that weren't memories. I'm not a copy, Rourke muttered, but even he heard the doubt in his voice. The original moved closer, slow, calm, like he had practiced this confrontation for decades. You were created to live the life I couldn't, to take the fall, hide the truth. We're the identity while I vanished from every document ever made. A beat, but you didn't disappear like you were supposed to. You became real, to real. Rourke's chest tightened. Panic, denial, and an eerie déjà vu merging like oil and water. You were meant to die in that apartment, the original continued. The coffee, the chair placement, the message on the mirror, all of it was prepared to trigger shutdown. But you walked out. Rourke's hand instinctively touched his chest. He felt the phantom ache from those moments, the dread, the confusion, the programming breaking. The original lifted the strange toothless key with the number 003. This unlocks what's left of you. What's left, your override, your shutdown sequence, your memories, maybe your future, if you choose one. Rourke felt something cold press against his sanity, a feeling like someone else was controlling the edges of his thoughts. The projector behind them flickered back on. More footage, more decades, more versions of the same man, all identical, all impossible. Echo 7 wasn't one man. Echo 7 was a project, a line, a replication algorithm. The original turned to Rourke one last time. You weren't meant to see me again, but you came too close. You followed instincts that weren't yours. You looked for a life that wasn't yours. He placed the key in Rourke's palm. So now you get the choice I never had. Rourke stared down at the key. It felt heavier than metal, heavier than truth. A life that wasn't his, a face that wasn't his, a name that wasn't his. You mean, I don't exist? Rourke's voice cracked in a way he had never heard from himself. The original shook his head gently. You exist more than I do now. That's the problem. Outside, the car engine finally stopped. Footsteps approached. Multiple. Slow. Deliberate. The original stepped back into the shadows. They're coming to take you to reset or erase. Depends on what you choose. What do I choose? The original's eyes tired, regretful. Human met his. Run and live a life that wasn't supposed to exist. He pointed to the back exit. Or stay and learn the truth that will destroy the one you already have. The door rattled. Voices whispered. Guns clicked. Rourke gripped the key until it dug into his skin. He looked at the exit, then at the shadows, then at the projector flickering with faces he didn't remember being. Two paths, two lives, two versions of a man who was never meant to exist. The door burst open, and the story of Echo 7 ended, with a choice only he could make.